Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, July 19th, and we are going to do some pre-market analysis for the S&P futures. I wanted to start out at the big picture this morning. This is the monthly chart of the S&P, just kind of give you a sort of a little bit of perspective here. So when we look at this, if you kind of take some like average stretches that we often get here, right? Like we had this sort of stretch from here. Whoops, that didn't work. There we go. From about here over to here of this kind of bull run before we had a deeper pullback. We had this little stretch, not even that far before we had a deeper pullback. Another little stretch before we had a deeper pullback from there to there. Another little stretch. This is another kind of long one here. This really nice long run we had from June 2012 to basically the end of 2015, right? So, good 4 years there without a pullback. And then again, kind of here, a nice little stretch of time before like a big pullback from February of 2016, basically all the way up to 18. And then we had some choppy waters, right? Starting in 2018, China trade wars, so on and so forth. That was kind of a choppy year, a choppy summer throughout 2019. And then we had the big COVID pullback, right? And since that COVID pullback on the monthly chart, we haven't had like a big pullback, right? So we've had this stretch right here, and we just really haven't had a big pullback. We had this little sort of blip on the radar in the summertime, right? But it wasn't really a pullback. It was just sort of sideways price action. So you can see on the control candle script here, it doesn't change colors. It's just really like consolidation, right, on the monthly chart. So I just want to sort of be aware of that on that big picture that, I'm not saying we need like a major, like a massive, correction or anything, but on the monthly, sooner or later, we've had this nice long stretch basically for over a year now, as the COVID recovery market essentially. And sooner or later, we're going to need to have some kind of a pullback in there somewhere, right? And so we just kind of want to be aware of that. There's all these little high volume areas that we could pull back to, right? So we're watching some of these, like in here is where I'm actually currently watching for some long-term entries. If that doesn't hold, we might fall down into this area. I sincerely doubt we're going to have a super deep pullback like this unless something catastrophic happens again. This was COVID, right? So this here, this was a 35% pullback. Like, do we really think that we're going to have, a 20% pullback in the S&P right now? I mean, that would almost constitute a bear market at that point. So I don't think we're going to have anything that we need to worry about that's like that dramatic. And, there are some other drawings up here that make it a little bit congested up at the top here, but pulling back from these highs down to here, that's a 5% pullback. That's a 10% pullback back to there. I mean, that's possible. Again, I don't know that we're going to pull back that deep right this second, but just keep in your mind that we've had this nice little run here. And if you're a swing trader, sooner or later, we might expect some choppy waters, especially if we just look historically, like this is summertime, right? See how we're really choppy through here. This was summertime. See how we're just sideways through the summer. This was summertime, and it was kind of, May, April, June, July, August. We got these like pullbacks. So, just keep that in mind. Looking at the weekly, we talked about in the trade room actually this level here, where if we pull back more deeply, we're probably going to get, a nice entry here, maybe for something on the long-term account if we pull back into there. So, but right now we're just sort of here. I had a swing trade on that hit the stop this morning, no big deal, because we were looking for this low to hold, which it didn't. So it does show signs that we're getting ready for something a little bit deeper here, right? So since that swing trade didn't hold, that's information that we can now use, right? And now we just want to say, okay, if that's not holding, if this set of lows isn't holding, where do we go from here? what are we looking at this point when that's not holding? And, you know, there's a ton of volume in here. See, this is the last major volume on the daily. So either we're going to reject from this low volume area and continue to build sideways up here. This is basically my theory, right? And it's just theory. So either we're going to build this out in here with some sideways like summer price action, and this, we've got this previous auction that we were in, you know, basically from April to June, where we were just sideways for months, and then we pushed up, and then we might just test some of this stuff and then continue to build price action up here, which would build out this auction here, build out the volume on that auction there. Otherwise, if we fall through this, then it's possible that we come down and we test this, we make a 10% pullback. That's what this area would be, is like a 10% pullback area, right? It's definitely possible at that point. So this is about a 5%, 4% pullback. Down into here is about a 10% pullback, right? So, you know, then we start to look to that. But right now on this big picture, that's kind of what we're looking at. We can see from a structure standpoint, right? From a market structure standpoint, we had this low that pushed up kind of a new high, like just barely a new high, higher low, and then pushing up again to a new high. So to pull back, you know, into some of this would not be unreasonable. You know, that would not be an unreasonable thing at all. Again, it's only a 4% pullback from the highs, so no big deal. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, is like the potential to trade down. This purple line is sort of like the, you know, again, that's like that low volume node when we look at that bigger auction, right? It's that low volume area where we might start to build up above that. That's kind of what we're thinking there, as like either we're going to build price action up above that line, right? It's also like these previous highs of this previous auction, because that makes sense, right? Rejects from the low volume areas. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We might reject here. If we don't reject around that purplish line there, which is 42.50, then we may come down into, you know, 41.75, right? I've got this little entry sort of marked off here at 41.88. It's not an exact level. It's just an idea. And, you know, that's kind of what we're thinking. So, you know, that's sort of the bigger picture. As we scale down, you can also see that we've really started to have like a structural shift here, right? This lows, we came up high, low, high, and then we're breaking that low, right? So it's a shift of structure. And then even on an even more granular scale, when we look at this stuff here, same idea, right? We should have had some forewarning. Like this was actually a beautiful short here. We were looking to take a short. This was Friday morning and kind of just missed the entry a little bit. But again, if we look at this, we had this, you know, actually here, let's do it this way. Because this was really like this was a heck of a run here. We kind of made this high, which is about here. We pulled back. You know, here we kind of broke the structure a little bit, but then we started to, you know, break those highs, pull back to a new high, pull back, attempt the high again and fail. This was the break of structure again. We pulled back right in here, and then you can see, whoops, I shouldn't have ended that. You can see we then are kind of pulling back down. So this level in here, right? This is why I said it was a beautiful short opportunity right in here, because basically when we broke these support levels, you know, that was really when the structure of the market started to change, at least on this kind of shorter term. I would call it like a short sort of intermediate term. Not short term in a day trading sense, but just looking at this sort of greater pattern here, you know, especially if we just look at it like this, you know, you can really see how the structure shifted, right? You can almost look, you got this double top, it's almost like a head and shoulders kind of thing, right? So you can really see that shift of structure in there. And now we're just pulling back. does, again, this is a 2-hour chart, so I'm not saying we're in a bear market big picture, but we just want to look at, where's the next pullback? How far are we going to go? Where's our next sort of line in the sand as far as a bigger structure goes? This was, a lot of volume in here. We've already kind of blown through that. We're kind of blown through the low end of that. So again, we start to come down to like maybe in here. So, it's just, this is stuff to be aware of when we're just kind of setting our biases. If we look at it, especially like this on the daily chart, I think this is kind of important to look at. This came up and really made this high, low, again, kind of a new high, wasn't super convincing, pulled back again, and then really here. So we could really pull back anywhere into here. That's, again, just to reiterate, that's what I'm looking at. But let's go into the short term now for us day traders and just get a sense of sort of where we're at. Right, this was sort of that structural shift. So we had this pullback low to this high. That's what this green channel is, and we broke down below it now, right? So the question now becomes, what do we expect for today? And again, if we just look at some sort of immediate structure, right? Kind of getting a lot of these sort of things. This is, you can call that a pullback, but that's kind of what the structure is doing right now. We might need a deeper pullback, again, kind of up into some of this stuff here, test some of these lows here. There was a bunch of support. So right now, essentially what we have is our previous high, and maybe we'll call this, we'll do it off here, right? So we kind of made that swing down, really shallow pullback, right? This is a very strong selling in here. We had a little reaction off this level. This is where I took my swing. You can see little reaction, and then there was another kind of level in here, but I wanted to make sure I got in the trade. I was really expecting this to hold because, again, big picture, this was sort of a significant swing. And so now we're breaking down. So what we're looking for today right now is at some point we would expect, right, we get this pullback. We'd expect to pull back again, kind of up in, and maybe more significantly retest some of this stuff, especially during the open market session, and see where we go. If we look at our volume from this whole area, right, obviously a lot of volume here. That was the end of the day Friday, right? End of the day Friday, lots of volume came in, pretty typical. And then a bunch of volume here. This is overnight, so it's not going to be as pronounced as the stuff that happened during the open session, right? And then a little bit of volume in here. So we could, we could retrace into sort of any of these areas. This one would be kind of likely, even though the volume's thin, just from the price action standpoint, it's a more significant pullback. And then sort of continuation downward to test either this low volume node here or to test this auction again in here, from that bigger picture standpoint, okay? And again, I wouldn't be trading off of these levels on a short term, but we'd look to get some choppiness in there and then possible bullish reversal in there at some point. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Again, overnight volume, especially Sunday to Monday, is really thin, so I don't put a lot of weight into these kind of levels, right? We don't put, it's not like super, they're not super convincing for us. We get rid of all this stuff because we just don't need it anymore. And at this point, we don't even need this green one anymore. So, essentially it's just a sort of waiting game right now to kind of see, just get this behind my price action, send it back, there we go, to kind of see, how this is going to unfold. Are we going to just rocket down and test some of this stuff down here, or are we going to, pull back up first? But ultimately, it's a quite bearish looking open. Friday's price action was quite bearish. And if we also look at the session volume for the day, You know, we are obviously opening way below Friday's value, way below. So, you know, again, everything today's pointing to a relatively bearish day. We had quite a bit of a move down already, so we could just balance a little bit, you know, at the open because there's already been a significant move. We could do somewhat of a gap fill as well. So that would also point to, you know, coming back up, testing some of these levels where we did have a reaction. I believe it was around here we were looking at. Yeah, right around here, right? This was around the close of yesterday, or Friday, I should say. Um, so a gap fill would bring us, you know, basically up to here-ish. And then we could have continuation down from there. And that just brings us back up to the bottom of Friday's range, right? That's all that does. Brings us right up to the bottom of Friday's range. Could we test the bottom of Friday's value? Sure, we could. It's definitely a possibility. We could test this pullback up here as well, point of control from Friday. I just don't know that would require a pretty hefty rally today. And I'm not sure we're going to get that, but we'll see. I mean, the headlines are all bearish, so usually that means a bullish day. We were talking about that the other day too. So yeah, so you know, it's Monday. Monday always for me in the morning is kind of like a take it slow and just see how things pan out day. I'm not in any rush to jump into trades hastily today. We want to start off the week nice and strong. But that's kind of what we're looking at. And you can join us in the trade room at dpmtrades.com. It's free, and you can kind of see how we're trading the market and share your own ideas. And it's always good to kind of bounce stuff off of other people as well. And yeah, kind of go from there. And like I said, see how the day plays out and trade it the best that we can. All right, guys, hope you have a great day. And I am going to sign out, and I'll be in the trade room close to the market open.